Sometimes it feels like we're carrying the weight of two worlds. The dreams our parents had for us, the struggles they never escaped. You study, you hustle, you pray, but the system still says, wait your turn. You know what I mean? And you start to wonder if your turn will ever come. I'm talking about the reality of being a South African youth in this country. I think I mentioned a lot of times before that on this video that I graduated about 2 years ago, if that's the right word to use. South Africa, we never use that word. If you were like me, you were a bit optimistic as to where your life would end up, and you like try to plan as this is what I'm going to do, and I expect to be here at a certain time or a certain period in my life. But I feel like the reality that we weren't taught so much, or the reality that we face or to accept, is that not everything is gonna turn out the way you think. You know? I'm talking about college, getting a job, and maybe traveling the world and moving to a different location and stuff like that. But for a poor individual, it's sort of difficult or impossible if you don't get into the system as fast as you can, right? I mean, think about uni and all the college. I know I always bitch around and crap out that, but you look at the stories online and you wonder if it's even worth it. I literally just read a story yesterday, or even came across it rather, about how, or a warning about how a bunch of individuals would be defunded, or a bunch of students would literally be defunded by NSFAS. And it makes you wonder if maybe God was trying to stop you or protect you from something, or from stress that you wouldn't handle by not getting you there in the first place. But like I said, I've developed this new mentality that maybe sometimes it's also about how hard you work. You know what I mean? You can't always rely on intuition. No, there's a lot I could say about this. And don't get me started on jobs. All my days, bro. I would watch a lot of American movies and a lot of these videos, especially of influencers online, particularly in the US. Individuals like Avery B and a bunch of them, Mr. Beast. And you hear about how most of them can literally choose not to go to university. I mean, that might be the case of hero stories, people like Nakasi, who've chose not to apply for uni and are sitting around like me. But like, I read the stories or hear the stories about some students in the US who choose not to go to uni, and they are able to get a job so easily. I don't know if it's the same now or if things have changed, but in South Africa, bro, I don't know how I can sort of emphasize enough. Maybe I'm lazy, maybe I'm not trying too hard, or maybe I'm trying enough, you know what I'm saying? But you literally gotta know someone who knows someone who knows someone. You know what I'm saying? I've always wondered, I've always imagined, because I would imagine, like, my reality is fucked up. My imagination is messed up. I would literally imagine myself in uni. Okay, that didn't work out. Then I'd imagine myself with a job. Okay, these are the things I'm gonna do. I'd always imagine that I would work at a fast food restaurant, for example. Okay, I'm lying. I always imagine I'll be working as a packer in some factory, earning a wage that isn't so bad, so I could buy myself a laptop or PC and a camera, to push this YouTube thing, you know what I'm saying, to buy myself clothes and to start going, you know what I'm saying? And this is all because of the people we watch online. I mean, if you watch enough videos of Tai Sitole on TikTok, then you know what I'm talking about. That idea of moving out and living in your own place, bro, buying what you want, designing, like setting up your life, bro. I'm dark themed, and you would imagine everything on mine will be black. I'm black. You know what I mean? It's tough. Then you come across our constant issues as South Africans, and we have a lot of issues here, bro. I'm not gonna get into the water situation because water is, damn, bro, it's so scarce here. It's getting scarce, to be honest. But imagine trying to push whatever creative outlet you have, and then boom, load shedding. It's almost like the system is rigged for you to fail. Everything is against you, or so it seems. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm blaming anyone or anything or the systems in place where I'm at today, or where I could probably end up in a few years, right? What I'm just saying is maybe a bunch of us were never meant to be. You know what I mean? Which is funny because I am a self-proclaimed strong believer of the idea that you are where you are because you are not too pissed or sad about where you are. You know what I mean? Like, if you knew better, you do better, and if you wanted better, you do better. You know what I'm talking about? Toxic mentality. Toxic mentality. I feel like it's just a way of coping with the reality. A way of, it's the reason why a lot of, I would imagine, the reason why a lot of boys my age or younger resort to these influencers. You know what I'm saying? Because we're just trying to, you know what I mean? And I mean, there's not even enough, should I say, role models in society. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, bro. When was the last time you looked at an individual like us and thought, "Fuck, I want to be like him"? You know, besides our footballers, I would imagine kids who are growing up in Tembisa, y'all may have it a bit nice because of dreams. You know what I mean? You have a lot of footballers there. Might not be the case now, but like, I used to watch the Phillies games and think to myself, okay, bro, even if I don't go pro, this will still be light for me. You know what I mean? But like, all we have is individuals contributing to GPV stats, rape stats, murder stats, failure stats. You know what I'm saying? And it's a bit disgusting. I'm just ranting at this point, just talking a whole lot of nonsense. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me started on social media and the life it portrays up there. I feel like we've been through this one before and everyone is fatigued, kind of. You know what I mean? Like, I'm personally fatigued. You know what I'm talking about? It's a whole lot of BS, to be honest. I've got this love-hate relationship with your social media, but like, as a youth, it can really mess you up, especially if it's your go-to place for entertainment. You're really gonna get fucked up. You know what I'm talking about? At a literal sense, based on what you do and the content you consume, you would just be chilling and you come across a David Goggins and feel like doing 10 push-ups. You know what I'm saying? You come across Angel Britain and feel like you're not doing enough at training. You know what I mean? Ashton, don't get me started on Ashton Hall. Like, some of this stuff is unrealistic, let's be honest. I don't know about you, but I just feel like not everybody's life is going to turn out the same. So stuff that may have worked for Cristiano Ronaldo may not work for you. Yeah, you can take tips and try to like fit them into your own like life and schedule. I don't know how to put it right. But for example, posting once a month, posting every week, posting every day, that may not work for you, especially as a creator. So I feel like social media is put on this filter. Like, some people fail to understand the Guti. At the end of the day, these people are getting paid from this content too. So like, you gotta think of it like that. He's gonna tell you to fuck them hoes, or like to like fuck everybody and do your thing, but like motivating you and shit. You know what I'm saying? But some of the things, like, not everyone is gonna show you how they got stuff. You know what I'm talking about? So it's gonna be very, very unrealistic for you to focus on that as a sense of motivation. And it's funny because as a South African, as a youth, you don't see much of that in South Africa. You don't see much of those in South Africa. I mean, again, based on who you follow, but like, it's usually the US. It's almost like we project our fears onto these videos and almost like tricking ourselves into thinking that we are still fighting, living another person's life. I've seen people do the dumbest shit for validation, but that's not why we're here. Here's the thing though, if there's something I love about some South Africans, is this sort of traumatic response, you know what I'm saying? This trauma response, PTSD recovery type of thing, where we take something serious and turn it into a joke. If you've watched South African Living, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. But I've noticed it with the youth also, across the world too. You know, this may not be as important or not as prevalent. You know what I mean? I don't know what that means, but like, y'all ever chilled with your boys at school and made jokes about how in a few years someone will be like, yo guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and shit, and then it happens, crazy coincidence, you know what I mean? And I've seen it a lot, but especially amongst the South African youth. I'm not saying that it was the same for me, but I'm just like, we don't necessarily quit easily. I mean, yes, there's a handful of individuals that have resorted to a crime, but is that necessarily quitting? Because from Election by Scop and from stories we hear, Kasi, it's literally to provide for a fat statement they made, a child or a parent, a sick parent or something. That doesn't justify crime in any way. But I'm just like, our South African youth, or is the South African demographic lazy? Like how it's framed? globally, you gotta think like that. You gotta think of it like that. Because I mean, it makes sense why a lot of people will be pissed about what's happening in South Africa, why a lot of youth would see it fit to talk about things that are happening here. What surprises me is how some people will try to turn it down. You know what I'm saying? It's like talking about GBV and having a person say something about how stupid that sounds, or it makes you wonder if the perpetrators are too dumb, like they just in like, are y'all too dumb, too dumb, you know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that a bunch of youths would see it fit to talk about the issues in South Africa and fight for South Africa, it, like, bro, if things happen here, things that piss you up, things that actually hit your heart, it makes the Rainbow Nation or the idea of being South African make you feel at ease, you know? Like you are proud to be South African. I don't know if that makes sense. But that's literally how I see it. Because I mean, where you gonna go? There's a lot of people that talk about using your skills elsewhere, moving to another country, greener pastures and stuff like that. But like, I mean, all roads lead home eventually. You know what I mean? You can't all run away. You know what I'm saying? Besides, I'm not about to experience some xenophobia in a different country, bro. I'm sorry. So what's it like being young in South Africa? Hold on. It literally feels like you're chasing a light bulb, as in chasing success, which is in this case a light bulb. Except every time you get closer, it goes off because of load shedding. And then it turns back on the next time they decide to switch it back on. But we're gonna still pushing regardless. Because I would love to imagine that we are a generation that refuses to give up, no matter how hard it gets. Because we've seen the struggle and we've just decided to become the change. I mean, because I mean, this is South Africa, it's all we got. Where are we gonna go if we give up on this? You know what I mean? This is what it feels to be young here. Just a whole lot of discombobulation and confusion, and like the urge to make a difference, the urge to change the situation.